All right, we're live.
Great, thanks, Robbie. So, hi everyone, my name is Kuren. With me, I've also got my colleague Robbie. Together, we contribute to the growth of the UK side of the business here at Omnitask Consulting. So today, we're going to be discussing how to visualize your data with Monday.com. So let's go straight into it. In terms of an agenda today, we're going to be discussing why are visualizations needed. We're going to be going through three different scenarios. Scenario one being sales teams, then going into marketing teams, then going into a final scenario of project teams. We're also going to take a quick look at work canvas as well. So let's answer that question. Why are visualizations needed? It's quite an obvious question, and the answers are pretty obvious as well to that. But let's just go straight into that. So the first bit is presenting bite-sized information to management. So, if you're looking at large quantities of data, of course, it can be really hard to basically pick out what that information or what that data is actually saying. Visuals can ultimately speak 1,000 words, right? And then the second piece around this is quickly identifying, which deals are at risk. So if you're a sales team and you're managing lots and lots of different opportunities, you might want to quickly identify, okay, which out of all those opportunities are the ones where 100 days have elapsed, and maybe you need to reach out to them again. Next one, gaining a top-level view on all projects or events. So if you're an event manager, when are your future events? Do you need to visualize that in a social media calendar or some kind of timeline? Do you have campaigns as well running before then, on the run up to those events, that you also need to look and actually see what's going on there and which social media outlet are they being published to? The next bit is understanding who is at capacity and who isn't. So again, if you're managing a team, whether you're an agency, for instance, you can see who's taken on what work, who are the people where you can allocate future work to make sure that people aren't being overloaded. And the last one, analyzing trends and taking corrective action. This is probably one of the most important ones, because what's the point of having visualizations if you're not going to do anything with them? When you are creating visualizations, those are key questions to start asking yourself. Is this a visualization that's going to give me real value to my business? And can I take creative action from it? So, scenario one, sales teams. Over to you, Robbie.
Yeah, so thanks for getting us started, Kuren. I just want to say to anyone who's on the call that if you have any questions or you want to kind of put your hand up throughout today's webinar, then please do write in the questions box or the chat function. Ultimately, if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to expand on anything that we show you today, please reach out to either of us and we'll be happy to arrange a time to do that. So what Kuren was talking about there were essentially visualizing data in different ways, and the reason of doing that. We're going to start with the sales side of your business. So how you can essentially use the system to visualize data in the sales function. So what types of leads you have, for example. You can see things like aggregating the data for leads per region or the type of people that are in the businesses that you're speaking with. For example, putting a funnel chart on there will give you a good visualization of how your leads are progressing with your sales team. And there's a number of other views that we can use to essentially bring all of that data from your opportunities boards or your leads boards or whatever you're using Monday for in regards to a CRM into one easily digestible space.
Absolutely. So let's start off with this. Imagine that we've got a leads board and our leads are now split up into three different groups. The first being new leads, qualified leads, and then disqualified. Great. So let's say now that we want to start getting a few metrics around this, it's really easy to be able to create dashboards and visualizations directly into the system. All you need to do is when you're actually on a specific board, you've got tabs that you can see at the top. So if you click on this plus sign over here, I might just start off with a blank view. Blank view just allows us to then add specific widgets. So again, I can go ahead, click on this button over here, and I might want to create certain chart views. So here we've got a bar chart of how many of these items or opportunities belong to a certain group. And it's super easy as well for me to be able to visualize this in different ways. So I click on settings, I can change this into a pie chart. As you can see straight away, we're now brought up with different percentages. I could do the same again, by the way, if I wanted to understand, okay, these are the total leads that I've got. What's the breakdown for the title of the people that I'm getting? So again, super easy to be able to do that. Click chart again, click here, click settings. And then I probably want to change the x-axis. So here we've got status. Let's put that down to title. And maybe I want to have a nice little pie chart again. So we've got roughly 43% of people, of our leads being managers, 29% being directors, et cetera, and we can start going down the list like that. Other pieces around this is actually understanding the locale of people. So if I go back to my leads table, we can see we've got different regions of where those people actually are. So if I scroll to the right, we can see some people are based out in Spain, some people are based out in Australia. This is really helpful, by the way. Let's say you're a sales team and you're split up by different regions. Well, it might be a nice idea as well just to get some visual representation on that. So I can come in, click add widget, click on the map view, and straight away we've got this really nice kind of Google Maps view as well. So we can see all the leads like that. I can zoom in, and we can see that we've got 2 leads in Spain, got this person based in Madrid, and I can go straight into the item itself and view all the details there. So pretty cool. Over to you, Robbie.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kuren. It's important to remember as well, when you're building out these dashboards for you or for a member of your team, for example, then try and explore with them or explore by yourself what sort of information, how you want to digest it. So Kuren's showing us today a couple of ways that you can aggregate the data into the board, but really the best way to understand how you want to digest that is to experiment essentially with those dashboards and with the views. You might surprise yourself with some particular data that you want to learn from, but didn't think that you could bring into a dashboard view like that. The next one we're going to focus on is marketing teams, a huge and one of the most popular use cases in Monday. Now, for marketing teams in particular, it's not just about bringing data that is housed in Monday into a view so you can digest it, but having the ability to bring data from other platforms that you guys use into the system so it does act as that one single source of truth for you. And ultimately, that might be something like your Google Analytics data and bringing that into the dashboard, or bringing something like a Miro board or Work Canvas into the dashboard. And Kuren will actually touch a little bit more on that later. I do want to pause for a second and just say to anybody on the call or on the webinar, if you do have any questions, please put your hands up. We are here to answer those for you. But again, if you do want to speak to us afterwards, you can do that as well.
Great. So if we are to start off then with a marketing use case, so very often creative teams, they've got lots of different files that they're dealing with. So one obvious one to then click into is we've got something called a files view. So if I click on explore more views, and here we've got a file gallery. So we can see all of the different files with their thumbnails uploaded directly into the actual system itself. There are a bunch of other views as well that you can start adding around this. So let's say you've got a board with creative requests. So again, this could be creative requests coming internally. So you might have like an intake form, which people are filling out. And once they fill in this form and hit submit, this is then populating a new line item into this new request table. An easy way of being able to review the results of that is by going into what we call the form viewer. And very easily, you can see all the different answers that people have done. There are a bunch of other views as well that you can start looking at within Monday. You know, you can use, as well as Kanban being useful for sales teams, this is also quite useful as well for marketing teams. In this case, this is just the status, or the department, sorry, which each item falls under, and then you can easily move and drag different items to their respective teams. There's other pieces as well of this. So if I go into the onboarding plan, we've got lots of different items and lots of different sort of timelines associated with those. We might want to start getting some timelines around this and some visualizations to be able to look at this from a holistic point of view. So if I click on this plus sign over here, click on explore more views, I could type in timeline, and straight away, we've got this image over here. It's not looking that colorful. So what I might do is click on these three dots, click in settings, and then I might want to group it by, the group, right? So we can see, okay, what's in phase 1, what's in 2.0, and what's in 2.1. Let's have a look at the other settings as well. You can even do like a group summary, which is pretty cool. So you can actually see when is phase 1 starting and when is it ending. Same thing for 2.0, same thing for 2.1. And then you can also color it as well. So we could color it by the status at which it is at. Again, super important to look at multiple different pieces of information, all in a single graph, all in a way that's super, super easy to digest. There's other views as well that you can add around this. So we could start looking at calendar views as well. So I'm just going to type in calendar, click add widget over here. And again, a really, really simple way just to view what's going on in a really nice view, which your team can understand.
Perfect. So the idea really, guys, is to try and create that one-stop shop for you, whether you look at it on a weekly basis or a daily basis, but to really understand whether you're in sales or project management or marketing or you're part of the C-suite, to really understand where things are at in the organization. Ultimately, Monday can house a lot of operations. It can house a lot of use cases. So even if you wanted to bring in data from a project board and a marketing board and a sales board all into one view, that's still available to do. We can jump on a call and show you if you want to look at that as well, but we're not going to cover that off today. What we're going to move into next is basically the similar thing, but for project teams. So looking at things like resource allocation, building a portfolio dashboard. So all of the live projects that you have, and how we're able to track them, budgets, timelines, this sort of thing as well. And even if, depending on the methodology, obviously, that you follow, but trying to build that into an easy to digest view for you or your teams or your senior leadership. So I'm going to hand it back over to Kuren, and he's going to jump into how you could use this in project management.
Yeah, so this is really, really cool. So imagine you've got 3 stages at which projects come in at. So they come in at the planning stage, then goes into execution, then goes into closure itself. Again, you can do what I did before, right? You can add simple bar charts and graphs around this. I might start off with a blank view. I might add the widget over here. I might then come into this particular chart itself. And again, I can see the different stages which projects are at. There's other things as well that I might want to do. So I might just label this. So stage of project. And actually, this is labeled by the actual status. So I can come in. Oh, let me just do that again. Stage of project. Perfect. And then I might want to actually just relabel this. So instead of the x-axis referring to the status, maybe I want that to refer to the actual group. It's worth noting as well, guys, that all of this is interactive. So it's not just like a static bar chart that you're very used to when you look at tools like Excel. I could click into this and I could say, what are all the projects or items which are closed out? Click into that. Or what are all the ones at the planning stage? I could click into that. Something that's actually quite interesting about this graph is it looks like it's the wrong way around. So let's go ahead and try and fix that. I can come in, go on the settings, and let's see if we can, here we go. So we can do X-axis. Let's try that. So there we go. We've got it switched over. We've got all the information at the bottom. Really, really easy to be able to look at. Other pieces that also sit around this is we can look at a Gantt chart as well. Again, this is just a view to be able to say where each item is at. So I can look at the planning stage, and we can also see that dependencies have been built. That's what these arrows represent. Okay, and the way that this is working is it's pulling in information from the dependent fields that we filled in here. So we can see kickoff is dependent on research, for instance, and that's why we've got those arrows connected. What's really nice with this as well is if we drag things across, as you can see, it doesn't change there, but as soon as I start trying to overlap with the next item, it then pushes the other one across. That's where the dependencies are coming into place. This is a really nice view as well, especially for organizations who are working with a critical path methodology. So every organization which effectively has a deadline is going to be working in a critical path methodology because they've got a timeline that they're working towards. And so for them, they need to understand what are the critical items or tasks that need to be completed, because if they're not, that would then critically affect the actual deadline itself. So companies really find this important so that they're working on the right things at the right time, but also making sure as well that they're keeping to things like budget as well. There's other pieces as well that we can start adding around this. So we can do things like number views. So I click on this plus sign here, or we've got a blank view already there, and I click add widget and I click on numbers. So let's look back at this main table. We've got the cost column over here. Maybe we just want to do a big sum of that and say, what's the total cost for all of these line items? So I could come in here, I could click on settings, and we could say the cost view. Take that off, add a sum view, and then here we've got different units. So in our example, this was listed in US dollars, so I'm just going to put this as a dollar sign. Again, you can do things like averages as well. You can play around with this, but here we're just going to keep it to the sum. Okay, so maybe I just want to rename that and call that total cost. Simple. Other pieces as well that sit around this is maybe looking at resource allocation as well. So we've got here, I've just put my face, I've just allocated myself to these different items. But what we can then start doing is we can start seeing who's got what on their plate. So if I go into here, click on add widget, click on more widgets, and then I click on workload. Let's give this a second to load. Straight away, we can see what's been unassigned and what's been basically assigned to myself. Let's go ahead and play around with the settings as well around this to see what's going on here. So it looks like it's based on, here we go, count items. So it's measured by the number of items that's been assigned to me. So one item assigned to me, two items which in this particular week, two items which are unassigned, etc., etc. We could also base this on the number on the amount of effort as well. So here we can see I'm putting in 5 hours of effort in this particular week. Maybe I want to also play around with this and actually set a weekly capacity. Maybe my weekly capacity is only 4 hours a week. Straight away, we can see things highlighted in red. Now imagine this being listed out for your whole entire team. It's then very easy to see who's at capacity, who can be allocated what. Maybe work actually needs to be shifted from one person to the next. So I'd certainly recommend playing around with this view as well. And then you can keep going as well with the number of visualizations that you add around this. So I'm just going to show you something which is a little bit more built out. So again, you've got things like number of projects per stage. Again, all of this is drillable, and you can go deeper into this. You can see, okay, all the projects which are on track, etc., etc., which are actually on a critical path. So that could be really interesting. I could click onto that. And we can see, okay, so this item itself is very important to the project completing. And you've got a bunch as well of other visualizations as well that we can start drilling into. Great. Over to yourself, Robbie. Robbie, are you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm waving my hands around, but I'm not saying anything. I was muted. I was just saying basically the views and everything that Kuren is showing us, everyone, and how to set these dashboards up is really to aid time saving. We spend hours and hours a week trying to aggregate information for our meetings with our managers or for meetings with clients or prospects. A lot of what we do in our day-to-day or in our week is trying to get information from, whether that's from different teams, different departments, different individuals in your organization or in your team. And what this will allow you to do is create a real live active view of all of that data you're trying to aggregate each week in one easily managed dashboard. So try and use them to save you time, not just for the sake of building out a dashboard, because otherwise it would be irrelevant, but try and use that in the organization as a time-saving technique. The next thing we're going to roll into is Monday's new product. So this is Work Canvas. If you haven't seen it already, we're not just going to show you one slide on that. Kuren's going to expand on it in just a moment. But outside of what Kuren shows you today, if you're using anything like Miro or any of those sort of platforms as a whiteboard, a digital whiteboard, then ultimately Monday should be your replacement for them. Because if you're using Monday, you essentially should be using Monday's Work Canvas, because they talk together very, very well. So you'll learn a little bit more with Kuren just now. But if you do want to learn more about Work Canvas and how you can use it as an organization, it's a separate conversation to this. Please reach out to me or Kuren on LinkedIn, or drop us an email, whatever you're comfortable with, and we'll be more than happy to show you through that.
Absolutely. So as Robbie mentioned, Work Canvas, this is Monday.com's digital whiteboard or digital canvas tool for everyone to use. Ultimately, everything that you can do on a whiteboard, you can do directly onto this. It's a super easy tool, super easy platform to be able to use. So if you want to get started, just click on New Canvas. Let's give this a couple of seconds to load. And then you're presented with a bunch of different templates that you can start going into. So you go project management templates, so critical path, something which we talked about. You've got agile, scrum boards, Kanbans. We could look at HRs, roles, departments, etc. So I could start building, for instance, an org chart, click on use template, and boom, there we go. We can place things like that. It's really easy to be able to actually edit things as well. So, if I fancied myself as the CEO of the organization, I could put myself there, of course. And then we can also put together other people as well here at the bottom. And it's quite an intuitive interface, ultimately. If you want to add a person left to this person, Jalen, we can add that person there. And if you want to add them to the bottom, you can add them like that. Really easy to be able to use this. The second piece as well around this is all of this, by the way, integrates two ways to Monday.com. It's almost like a two-way sync. So as an example, if I said, I don't know, let's say I added a sticky note, which is what I clicked on the left-hand side, and I typed in project 1, do task as an example. We can right-click this, and here we've got create Monday item. I can click into that, and I could say create item, create sub item. So the whole core of this is that we've got both of those systems already talking to each other. So if you're already using separate tools to be able to do this, like Miro, why not just do everything together using Work Canvas and Monday.com? As mentioned as well, it goes both ways. So if I go back to one of my boards over here, and let's say I wanted to bring in some of this Canvas information directly into this, it's really easy to be able to do that. So I could click add widget, more widgets, and I could type in embed everything. add this widget over here. And as you can see, we can then begin to add this particular site. So I might want to copy that link, put that link there. Great. Now we've got that information pulling over, and we can start adding more information as well. And we should then see that information also represented here. So it's a two-way sync. Really, really interesting stuff. Robbie, do we have any questions in the chat or anything like that?
No, quite audience this one, but guys, if you do have any questions for us, anything we've shown you today, if you're watching this back on YouTube, like I mentioned, reach out to us on LinkedIn or drop us an email, whatever you're comfortable with. We will be more than happy to support you with creating a dashboard or new views for your business to benefit from. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. That is the end of the webinar. And Kuren, thanks so much for diving into the system with us today. Some really, really useful tips and information there that hopefully everybody can take away and start implementing in their own Monday system. Awesome.
Thanks very much, guys. If you've got any questions, we've also got links as well on our LinkedIns as well for you guys to contact us. So let us know. Otherwise, thanks so much for your time today. Thank you.
Brilliant. Cheers.